Okay, yeah, now we'll
Okay,
throw.
got it. Oh, good. Well, welcome everybody. So I'm your host tonight, Dale Leiden, and just really happy to have all of you joining us. First half an hour here, we will be doing our business meeting and going through some business, and then at 7:30 our speakers will start. And so let's get started. Introductions, the board. I'm going to go from upper left to lower right on my screen. May not be the same of yours. Jay Sundahl is our host and our technical guru and moderator. Diane Hetrick is another board member. You can tell Jay has the headset on. And Gidget Terpstra, Kathy Goodrich, Jean and Larry Monger, and Marla Tullio. Don't see any other board members. Help me if I miss them.
Diana's Lindbergh is going to be late.
Okay.
Diane's getting a train home
Oh, good.
from downtown. Yeah.
Good.
Dale, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Here I am prattling on with mute. So as we go through our agenda, our first agenda item is the treasurer's report. We'll turn to our treasurer, and that'll be me. And so I've done just a really summary of our cash flow and cash and everything, and I will not show it, but oh, I'm sorry, I have our budget. So we started the month of October with $502. We received a $100 donation from someone, and so with no expenses in October and the beginning of November, we end the month. Well, we are currently at $602.63, and so it's this pandemic has been very interesting. Very few expenses, just a little bit for Zoom and for other websites and things like that. And as always, if anybody wants to see I have a complete spreadsheet month by month for the year. I can certainly send it to people. It's we started the year with $678, and right now we're at 602. So high finance, let me tell you. I will say that just to let you know, we have petty cash that I hold of $220.81. And so I have that in my safe here. Oh, I didn't say that. I have it in a safe place here. So, but I want to be very open about that. It's not a great amount, but I want to have transparency and just so everybody knows. Next point on the agenda, and that's the problem with using paper, as the Council of Neighborhoods report. And if any of you don't know what the Council of Neighborhoods is, City of Shoreline has 14 recognized neighborhoods, and the council is composed of representatives from each one. We have kind of a rotating representation on the Council of Neighborhoods, but it's really interesting how all the neighborhoods get together and there's, pass or exchange information, and it's kind of a nice thing. So Kathy Goodrich was our attendee last time, and quite often Diane will also, and Gidget has been quite in the past, but Kathy's going to give our council neighborhood report.
Yes, and I want to mention, I think my internet is pretty unstable. We are over at Wapato and Lake Chelan. So, if something happens and you don't hear me, I don't know, wave your arms and I'll hope I'll notice. But, so I will start. They're kind of lengthy minutes, and I tried to pare them down to just the high points, but I have more information if you are interested. So first started out with Debbie Terry was providing the city's ongoing response to the pandemic. And she explained that explained the vaccine policy that was adopted by the city in early October, which requires all employees and certain volunteers to be vaccinated by December 1st. She talked about the phase 2 opening is planned for December 1st. For those employees who have been working remotely, they'll be required to be on site at least 2 days per week. She acknowledged the economic hardship for local businesses, and then described the federal benefits that were received to offer some relief to qualifying businesses. And she noted that the city fared pretty well overall, in part due to their restrictions and expenses early on in the pandemic. And then she identified where income held stable or even went up a bit, and where there were losses in revenue due to the pandemic. Then we moved on to the recreation and parks updates. And she noted that after Eric Friedley retired in 2020, she decided to reorganize Parks and Rec to bring together more in a more integrated way, the children, youth, and adult services, and then the community centers. Colleen Kelly is the director of recreation. Let's see, it's called Director of Recreation, Cultural and Community Services, which is the name of the newly reorganized department. And Colleen then went on to detail how the organization is structured with a slide presentation. Kirk Peterson is the park superintendent, and he spoke about the services that were provided during the pandemic, include ongoing services. He described the very heavy use of the lighted fields, soccer and other fields, from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day of the year. They're scheduled. He talked about the new park acquisitions and noted the great contributions of volunteers and how that really makes possible a good program. Let's see, so the next category were the Council of Neighborhood announcements from Constance. And she noted that in accordance with the city policy on vaccinations, to attend a con meeting in person beginning in January, one will need to provide her with proof of vaccination and a signed attestation, which can be downloaded from the city. All meetings will also still be virtual, so everyone can still attend, whether or not they are, whatever their vaccine status is. And then they went over the some neighborhood updates. Oh, I forgot to mention, on December 1st, there's going to be a meeting / party gathering for outgoing Mayor Hall, Susan Chen, and Keith McGlashan. And I think some announcement came out recently, very recently, from Constance, but I haven't had a chance to look at it. So someone perhaps could add to that piece later. And then the neighborhood updates. Dom wanted to thank everyone for their donations to the Four Corners Food Drive for Hopeling, which exceeded their $10,000 goal. And then North City's Green Shoreline Day They sponsored work parties from 9 to noon at 4 parks in their area. Ridgecrest held, quote, an amazing Halloween party in which they handed out over 1,000 bags of candy. Children were just super excited. Families were so happy. Everyone was just thrilled to be having some kind of social interaction again. Ridgecrest is planning a tree lighting for this month. And then Richmond Beach is planning their Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day fun run at the Saltwater Park and a tree lighting on December 4th. And that's it.
Thank you, Kathy. And speaking of Councilmember Chang, I wanted to recognize you. I saw you and I intended to, and I forgot completely about it. So I apologize. We always appreciate when our elected officials join us. I think it's a real strength of the city that they are connecting with neighborhoods. And, you know, our neighborhood is our group. We are committed to creating connections between neighbors, the city, and businesses. And I think that's really important. And so, especially tonight, where we're going to recognize a couple of our businesses and just to create those connections, because I think they're really important for a strong city, and our neighborhood group can strengthen the city in that way.
And Susan, we're gonna miss you, Susan.
Thank you.
Yes,
You all always have such great meetings and great speakers. It's actually really interesting and fun to attend, so it doesn't feel like it's an obligation that I'm here for. But thank you.
And we appreciate all the hard work and all the nights. You know, I know council meetings aren't easy, but we really appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Next up is the January meeting preview. And so Jean, do you?
Yes. So for our January meeting, traditionally, partly because of weather potential, we don't schedule speakers. And we will have our volunteer recognition as best as we can do it, and thank all of our volunteers. And then we'll have board elections. And then mainly we want to hear from you, the neighbors, on your concerns, your ideas, and just an informal open session of sharing. So please come to the January meeting on the 18th of January at 7 o'clock on Zoom. Thank you.
And that's always a nice time. We have appreciation for the members of the board and others who are part of our committees. And I want to recognize Diane Lindberg as another board member. I believe that she thinks that she's an outgoing board member. We haven't yet decided that she is outgoing. Oh, she's outgoing, but. And then also recognize Pat Deegan. Pat is a person who's very, very important, concerned and about our Echo Lake Park, and has done a lot of work there. And he's we've kind of given him the title of our steward, and he spends a lot of time looking out for the park and talking with our city maintenance people. And you know, it just takes a lot. It just takes that. It takes people who are concerned about the neighborhood. And today, in my real job, I work for another city on the east side. I was talking to someone who was concerned about storm drains, and said his wife went out with a rake and hip boots and cleaned a storm drain off. And that city has an adopted drain program, and I think Shoreline does too. But you know, it just takes people, because the city forces are stretched thin sometimes, and it takes you know, those of us in the neighborhood to band together and make things work too. And we just really do appreciate everyone. Do we have any other miscellaneous meetings that we've attended in the last month? Can't think of any.
So,
I don't want to feel like we have to fill time, but we went really fast. We're going really fast through our agenda here. Any other business? Anything that anybody else has? Marla?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know we've pretty much finished up with the Densmore Pathway Art Project and replanting new native plants. We put in about 36 new plants, a lot of them purchased just a few blocks from here, just west of Densmore Pathway. The business has been around for 70 years, I think you said. And we're just putting in the final report probably tomorrow to get the reimbursement for just under $3,000 that the city will be giving us. And then just 2 days ago, Echo Lake Neighborhood Association has been asked to support the city of Shoreline's application process for a mini, or actually a grant. It's not a mini grant, it's a $50,000 grant from the Washington Department of Ecology for some freshwater algae control at Green Lake. Not Green Lake. Green Lake has had this process done before. This will be at Echo Lake out here in Shoreline. And also a smaller nonprofit group, the Friends of Echo Lake, which is mostly the neighbors that live on Echo Lake. They've also been asked to put in and submit a letter of support. So this application will be through the Washington Department of Ecology, and they're hoping to get the funding to be able to do some treatments of the lake to keep I think it's phosphate levels, to reduce those, because that lake is very old, and this will improve the water qualities somewhat. And as far as the algae, and we'll also reduce the amount of closures we've had because of toxic algae. That's about all I had to add. Thanks.
We're getting feedback from somebody.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention too that over the years that we have started and maintained the Densmore Pathway. And if you're not familiar with it, the Densmore Pathway is between Densmore and Ashworth on a piece of right-of-way that the city owns. It was a street right-of-way that was unused. And I believe that's, what is it? Is it 188th? Was it?
Yeah, 188th, correct? In
And
Ashland.
I just want to mention too that Sky Nursery has donated materials over the years for that pathway, and I know that some of their employees use it during their breaks and lunch hours,
Right.
and use it walking to and from, and so it's been a really great partnership again. And so I see various people that I recognize most of you, but
Mhm.
I see Donna Franklin. Donna's been involved with native plants over the years. Donna, can you wave? There you go. And Nicole Hines, I see you. Linda Wilford is here.
Yeah.
Again, Pat Deegan is with, Claudia is with Pat. Diane Lobaugh, Michael Dunn, although Michael's away right now. Sarah Camarisi. And Eben is here. I want to recognize Eben as running for council. Oh no, we have had the election, haven't we? And then Sandy, I don't recognize who you are, and nor Donna. So you want to introduce yourself, Sandy? Oh, I can't hear you. but you're off of mute. No, still can't.
You can put something in the chat if you'd like.
Yeah. But welcome. And then there's someone with just the word name Donna. I don't know if it's Donna. It's not Donna Franklin. You gotta introduce yourself. Or put something in the chat too. Up there. Sandy lives on the east side of Echo Lake. Well, welcome. So we're a little bit fast, but I guess that's okay. So tonight we have 3 speakers. I've entitled our first segment as Beloved Local Businesses, Past, Present, and Future. And these are both local businesses that I want to say probably every one of us have shopped at and appreciate and add to the quality of life in our neighborhood. The first is Sky Nursery. Brandy Landry is the general manager, and she is also the granddaughter of the founders. And so we're going to give her a chance to talk about how they got started, maybe why they chose Shoreline, and then maybe a little bit about, you know, what's going on presently and maybe any future plan. We don't want to pry, but it's kind of nice to know maybe that if you have a few plans that you could reveal. And you are on mute.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. Again, my name's Brandy. I am the granddaughter of Jim and Irene Landry, who started Sky Nursery back in 1953. Kind of funny, I just probably in the last few years realized that when they were searching to start a business, they were looking for a grocery store to start. They weren't looking for a nursery business, but they lived, I want to say Renton, Kent, somewhere down there. I think Uncle had a turkey farm or something. So they were heading up north and came across this little feed store. And they ended up buying this nursery and sold chickens and feed. And so kind of part of what I've heard is that my grandmother's father back in the early 50s is they wanted to make sure that grandpa was able to get Social Security, and how do you get into that Social Security? And so my grandparents had regular jobs Monday through Friday. Grandpa ran the store Monday through Friday. And then my grandparents worked the weekends, and my grandmother really started enjoying plants, started learning about them, taking classes. So slowly over time, they started incorporating more plants versus feed. And so that's kind of how it started, is just they were looking for something for grandpa to do. From what my grandfather, Jim, actually passed away the summer before I was born. So I never actually got to meet him. But what I hear, he was just a workhorse and always trying to, figure out the next thing and what could they add. Just kind of going back through some of our notes of history, that to buy, that when they originally bought the property, it was right up on the corner of 185th and Aurora there. They sold their car so that they could buy another little piece. And so they just started getting little pieces of that area to expand the business as they could. Having a nursery is very seasonal. We pretty much, it's go time pretty much March through June, and the rest of the time kind of settles down. So like in the off season, having Christmas trees is how do you keep your employees employed year round and not shut down your business? And so kind of just creating different things to be able to stay open year round. So yeah, so my parents, or my father and my aunt and my uncle who passed away in the mid 80s lived right down in Richmond Beach area. And I remember my parents saying, you know, my grandparents were always working, so they were always in sports, always staying busy, and they a lot of times would be the last kid picked up because there was always something to do at work. Back then, and most everything was within walking distance. You know, some of the funny little things is, you know, they would take metal like cans, whatever, soup or whatever, but like 5-gallon, and they would get a penny for every top that they could cut off so that they could plant plants in them to be able to sell. So I think they were probably in elementary school. So, and even when I was born, we lived on Midvale on that back property next to my grandparents' house. Every weekend we would be down there doing something. As a little kid, chipping the mortar off of bricks because we would get a pile of bricks and, you know, chop that off or cut it up so that we could sell the bricks. Always just trying to find something, you know, inexpensive, but how do you turn that around and reuse it? So yeah, so just over the years, you know, there's been quite a few family members that have worked. I think our families always wanted to make sure that any of us, whoever wants to work at the nursery, chooses to work there. You do start from the ground up. And work your way through. Need to be able to understand every part of the nursery, not just you know, step in and take over or anything. So myself, I started cashiering, learned how to cashier when I was 12 years old. Was actually on payroll when I was 15. So cashiered for a while, drove the loader for a while, did accounting. And so I've been there a little over 30 years now, and I still love it. Love the customers. Love hearing the stories, love having new customers come in and like, oh, this is such a feel-good place. So I know my grandmother would be so happy to see all the people that come, you know, weekly, monthly, once a year, whatever. But sometimes even just to walk around and when they leave, just say that they feel good about, like maybe they had a bad day and you walk around the plants and just feel good. You know, so we feel very, very lucky. Still can't believe it. We've been in business for 68 years. So 2023 will be our 70th. And so cannot believe that we're still around. I think it's hard these days to have businesses that have lasted. And I will say COVID is, it's been very challenging. Always daily basis. You know, how do you improve things? How do you make sure people are being safe? But we've been very lucky. We've been able to keep anybody that's wanted to work employed. So for our business, we have so many new gardeners from staying home. What else is there to do but to work in your yard and have a vegetable garden? So lots of new customers to, you know, just be a part of the community, I guess. Trying to think. Sorry, I need to get a little drink of water here. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before. It's kind of my first talking Zoom meeting, so I'm a little scattered at the moment. But yeah, so right now, the current owners are brother and sister, my father and my aunt. They're in their 70s, they're getting up there. So they do still come in almost on a daily basis, but kind of are in the background, not so much dealing with the general public so much, but still a part kind of in our family. We just kind of, what else are we going to do but work? It's kind of what we've known. And I love it. I mean, when I was 5, I knew this is what I'm going to do. I love it. And I still, I mean, I learn something new every day. It's challenging. and just being able to talk to customers is really a great thing. I don't know if there's any more about the history other than, yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of ups and downs over the years, trying to always improve. You know, he built the greenhouse in 2008, 2009, and that was a really tricky time with economy not doing well. And we built that building and we really didn't know if we were going to make it through that next year. And, you know, thank goodness for our community that did come in, even when things were tight, and we were able to stay open and kind of, you know, enjoy our new space and learn how to use it. And so, yes, we're always, with our business is always, we do things, try to build things little by little, save a little money, try to build something. So that big greenhouse has been wonderful. Our old building was getting pretty bad. So, and then 2 years ago, we built the receiving area for safety, making sure that we could offload all of the product, be away from customers, where we used to right down the middle. If anybody knows our roadway where you pick up bag material, that we load for you so you don't have to do it. We used to unload everything and customers always wanted to buy right off of the truck, and it was a little dangerous. And so we were able to kind of refigure what we were doing. I know we've bought and sold some land to make our lines even with Dunn Lumber over the years. So the receiving area is done. So we're always on to the next phase. This year we're we're putting some fencing on some inner areas to make sure that customers are safe and not look at the behind the scenes area. Hopefully in the next couple years, out in the nursery where the trees and shrubs, some of those walkways are a little broken and cracked. And so little by little, we're trying to either lay new concrete, redesign, plant some plants. So there's some inspiration, kind of like on the back on Midvale, the urban trail is really trying to plant all sorts of different plants so as people walk by, they can see what a mature plant looks like, and just having something nice to walk past as we do work on it when we have time, not so much in the busy season. People that do walk that trail, it's been really nice hearing the comments that customers have to say, or just passerbys that, we can't do it all in a year, but each year we try to add more plants and beautify the area so that, and limbing up stuff for safety, there's no hidden areas underneath bushes for people to hide, because that's been an issue. Trying to make it safe for not just people shopping at Sky Nursery, but even if you're just walking past the area. I got lots of time to talk. Oh my goodness. So that's kind of where we're, some of the things we're always trying to improve stuff. Hopefully in this next year, the entrance off of Aurora that comes around and wraps to the start of where the main parking lot in front of the store is, to do some re-asphalting. It's been a while, just for safety reasons, make it look nice. Talk about, I guess, right now, some of the things we are really trying to work with, I guess, with COVID is really made us kind of change some of the things that we've done. We've never been an online store, and we tried to do that as best as we could. It's really hard to put all that information on a website. Our plants change on a daily basis, and we really want customers to come in and touch and feel the plants and shop that way. But during COVID, we were able to do a lot of curbside pickup, which we are still doing. We do ask that everybody wear a mask at Sky Nursery, regardless of whatever status. And for those who can't come in, we do offer that curbside pickup for safety. And if you just don't feel like, if you're uncomfortable or you just need a quick, I need 10 bags of something or a couple plants, are more than happy to do the shopping to accommodate that with COVID. And so that was kind of a new thing we did once COVID kind of started. Oh, go ahead.
Randy, I was going to ask you, how has that been received? Is that, I know that people really appreciate that. And
Yeah.
do you kind of plan to continue that even after the, if we ever get out of this pandemic, or?
To a certain extent, we've always taken phone orders for, especially bag material. That's an easy one. It's right on that roadway. So customers, they don't even need to come into the store. In the past, if you purchased something, you'd have to come to the store, sign that you were picking up your stuff, and then drive around. We've revamped that a little bit, where they just drive right down to the roadway. Customer service comes up, gets their information, their last name, grabs their paperwork, loads the back of the vehicle for them. They never have to get out of their vehicle, and off they go. It's been a quick process. When we were closed, it was insane. We were closed for 6 weeks. We got to the point we had 400 orders in a day. And, normally that time of year, we'd have anywhere from, 65 to 85 employees. And when that pandemic first started, we had about 25 people working that were willing to work. Man, we had some long hours, long days. And we just got to the point that we said, okay, this isn't working. We can't successfully do this. And so we just really sat down and figured out how can we have people come in and be safe. And so we just limited how many people that we could have. And we put, arrows up and down every row so that there was one-way traffic. And our cashiers, if anybody's been there in spring, we know how those cashier lines can be kind of awful. I'm sorry. But we started where there's one line down the middle. If you're in the back, you don't realize that there's 8 registers. And in the past, you'd line up in each line, and you might get behind somebody has a 15-minute transaction, where the next line, you always pick the bad line. I always do. This way, always the first available cashier is taking that next customer. So I think we've been able to do that better, and just get people through there faster, and also give the cashiers a little bit of a break, that take a deep breath. Okay, call your next customer to come to you. So it kind of eases them a little bit. There's been a lot of emotion. I'll say the last year and a half has been a very emotional year and a half for people, the unknown, and just, what's your thoughts? But I think we have great customers. And I think when you come to a nursery, it's not food necessarily. So when you do come, you're in a good mood, and people are usually relaxed and not too much of a hurry for the most part. So I think that's been good. Just communicating a lot with the employees too, making sure that they're getting their breaks and that they feel safe and comfortable. So a lot of communicating. We've been very, very lucky at Sky Nursery. We have not had any COVID problems. I think we're very lucky because we are in such a big space, lots of airflow, really try to keep all of our doors open, and had a lot of compliments of that people do feel safe coming there. So that was kind of our goal, is making sure that people feel comfortable coming and shopping.
So I was also going to say that I have your website up, and it's got some really interesting pictures, some photos from your story, and I was thinking I can share my screen, and maybe you can comment on some of these photos, and it may bring something to your thoughts too.
Okay.
So I'm going to share the screen, and
I love your new website, your newer website.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love all your the changes you've made there, and your policies about the non-pesticides or safer, natural landscape, and all the efforts you made for that.
Well, thank you.
yeah. So can you see that?
That's,
No.
yeah, that's probably in the 50s. Not, I'm thinking that, I'm not positive if that is how they originally bought it. That might have been added on to just a little bit. I know it was pretty small when they purchased. That's one of my favorite pictures though too. But that is right off of Aurora. Kind of, I think that's kind of sits right in front of Dunn Lumber. I think prior to, yeah. But
And
I believe that's the original building, at least part of the original building when they purchased it in the 50s.
just trying to move it up because it's got a, there it is. Interesting aerial shot.
Yeah.
And there's 185th and Aurora. And the little curve, the little angle street that goes to Krista,
Yes.
or the tuberculosis hospital at one point. But you are right across the street from that.
Yes, where that white kind of looks kind of like a white building there. Yes, right there. That's the original area. So they didn't own any of that other property behind. Just little by little, they would purchase what they could.
And I'm impressed with the Richmond Highlands feed store.
Okay, so that would be, that's what they purchased right there. So that the Richmond Highland feed store, that's what they purchased. That's what it looked like when they originally bought the property. And so, and we use 1953 because that's, I think, when we became incorporated. We're not real sure prior to that. So, so 1953 is the date that we use, because it could be off a year or two.
And I love Farmer Bill there.
I know. I wish we had him. I wish we would have kept him. He's so awesome. That was before my time. I'm thinking I was a 70s baby. So I want to say maybe in the 60s was when that picture was taken. I know the next one over that with the blue sky, that probably was late 70s, 80s. I do remember that one. Anybody ever remember the midnight garden parties back in the 80s? We would close early in the, we would be closed in the morning, or, you know, and then we would open up at 6 p.m. And it was my favorite because we got to wear costumes. And I don't even remember what time of year. I think it was September, but we would have a live band. It was a party. And if I recall right, I think my grandpa would kind of get crazy close at the end of the night, and he'd start just giving stuff away and, you know, dirt cheap stuff. So you could really find some good deals back then on some of those.
And I like these pieces here. It's just some of these photos, and Ron and Linda, that's
My father and my aunt, the current owners right now, that's them.
Wow.
And I think my dad was I think he was 5. So my aunt was 6 or 7. They're about a little over a year and a half apart in age.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is
My
that your
grandparents. Yeah, my
is that
grandma
your-
Irene.
Is that your grandpa when he was getting ready to give something away?
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah, him and Ed Hume. Ed Hume worked in just up the road north when he was younger. And so Jim and Ed Hume became really good friends back then, and they would do all sorts of stuff together. I want to say Ed Hume worked at another little nursery or something. And back then, like, we also, I think, had wood, and so they would store it. I think they paid for a place that was closer to him, you know, to store it until they could, you know, keep bringing it to the property. But yeah, no, he, from what I understand, he was a very hardworking, kind, tough but kind man.
You know, I grew up in the 60s in Yakima, but we shopped at places like this where they wore their names on their shirt because they were proud of who they were and they knew who they were and they were proud of their business, and
My
kind
grandma,
of
when I-
reminds me of that.
yeah, my grandma in our old store, before we dismantled it, I just remember coming in, and at the back of the store there was a half round info booth, and my grandma was always there, answering phones, answering questions, and you could just see how much she enjoyed it. It was great.
Dale, I see that Pat and Claudia have their hand raised.
I see that, and I was going to recognize them in a moment. I just kind of wanted to get through, and I know that I kind of wanted to get through this page, and so yeah, Pat, Claudia.
Brandy, I love to go to Sky Nursery, and my friends and I go there often. We're wondering, are you going to bring back the coffee shop? We used to love to go there. Every time it was different, it was gorgeous. It was such a beautiful place to have coffee. So we're all curious.
It's so funny. I was talking to somebody today and just like, oh, I'm like, I know the one question's going to be, where's the coffee stand? When is it coming back? Well, I was trying to bring it back this last summer in July. It's very difficult to find people to work. It took me 8 weeks to even get a hold of somebody to try and maintenance our coffee machine, since we haven't done anything for a year and a half. And then with our thing is that we have so many people that we're worried about the mask thing. If you have a cup of coffee, and most people are wandering around and they're drinking coffee and putting their masks down. There's just been so many challenges in a little shorthanded that it was one thing that we could shut down, not have to worry about the safety for everybody. My hopes is to have it up and running this spring. It would really be nice to have that up and going. I know even the employees, when are we going to get our coffee? Fidalgo Bay is the coffee that we use, and I miss my 3 o'clock little cup of coffee from there. So both my daughters actually, my oldest daughter was running the coffee stand for me. They're both of my kids are doing something a little different right now. Don't know. I think they kind of want to try something different. So I will be looking for a coffee stand manager and new baristas. With us closing the coffee stand down because of restaurants and everything, the 3 baristas that we did have working, we were able to move them into different departments. And that's kind of what we like to do, is especially if you don't have to have a lot of experience, you don't have to know plants to start working at Sky Nursery, but you also, we want to hire within and keep people working there. And so one is working in indoor gardening, one is she cashiers and she works in our hard goods, and she's fabulous in there. So depending if we're gonna try and pull them back, they've blossomed so much, and giving them, a lot of people just come to work at Sky Nursery to learn more about plants. And so it will be, I'm gonna have to kind of start from scratch to get a new team going. But I promise, we built that whole coffee stand. We're gonna reopen it. I promise.
Good, thank you.
We've
Yeah,
got,
yeah.
two more questions, two more hands up, and we've got about 4 minutes. And I want to make sure that Brandy has a chance to say the last word and what she wants us to know. But Sarah, I see your hand is up.
Okay, well, I'll try to make this brief. We are new to the Echo Lake neighborhood. We bought a house in January, and we've been to Sky Nursery many times. I have been. My child has not been able to go to the nursery many times in the last 10 months, picking up plants to replace my lawn with beautiful plants. So it was really nice to be here. We came from Canmore, and we did go to Sky Nursery every once in a while, but it wasn't just down the street.
Yeah.
So I have two quick questions for you. One of them is, we love the Junior Gardener program that has been on hold, but we would love to see that come back. Do you have plans for that to come back?
We do. Definitely Sky Nursery, one of our things that we really try to focus on is we really want to be kind of a teaching and learning nursery where people are getting information and learning stuff, not just our employees, but also our customers. And we also want future gardeners. They are our future. It was one of those things too, is being shorthanded. The Junior Gardeners is a group of employees from different departments. And there was just a few things that I'm a believer in. If you're not going to do it well, we need to let it go for a little bit. So we have been working on, when we do bring it back, is to try and even make it better than what it was. We really wanted to try, last summer, a year ago, where it's like, okay, we're going to be doing this and that, and COVID just keeps lingering on. But now we're at a point that it's like, okay, we need to get our ducks in a row. So we are working on that one too. So coffee stand, Junior Gardeners are two things that are important to us. We're not gonna, just let them lie. So it'll be up and coming. So yeah. And it's good to hear this too, is, what are you guys missing? Even for Christmas, in the past we would have different singing groups and do a lot of that stuff. And we just, a little unnerving is, do we do this? And then what happens is there going to be another mandate? And, so there was just certain things is, let's just hold off. We did just decide this last week, even for the holiday season, is that we are going to have a couple little things happening, not making a big deal about them, but there'll be a jazz band playing for a couple hours, I believe on the December 12th. We're having a group of crafters come in on the 11th and 12th also. There'll be 10 to 20 crafters. And it's a group I don't have that information. I wasn't able to grab that. So that'll be one weekend. We've tried to make the area big enough and make sure that where people will feel safe, socially distanced. We also have a ukulele band coming in on the 4th, which is one of my favorites. They really bring some great spirit. I think for the holiday season, I always feel like, we want people to feel like it's a good memory. It's a good family fun. You come in and, you just hear this background music and some fun things happening. You can pick out your tree, get your, poinsettia, pick out an ornament for the year, and just have fun with your family, or even just come and walk around just to get out of the house. And so starting to bring some of those things back. So we are, it would be really nice for, 2022 if we had a bit more normalcy, and that's what we're pushing for. So.
Good, thank you. Marla, you've got your hand up. Do you have a real quick one? Because we're out of time.
Yeah,
I'm so excited about all your enthusiasm for the community. And I do know that your blog is amazing that you've got going on now. If you read that, there's all sorts of information as far as education. I've had some great customer service up front, the cashiers kind of explaining to me, and a gentleman that was behind me who was a little difficult to handle. She nicely explained to him why the line was the way it was. And I can tell that she knew she was being cared for by the management and the owners of the company. So it was great to see the employees being gentle and nice to the community, but also feeling good about herself too as a cashier. My quick question is, there's so many new apartments going in and townhomes, condos. Is your business kind of planning some kind of a change in the way you set up, your marketing or your displays for people that have small spaces, like those new two new buildings going in across the street from you, the plaid LEED platinum with a little bit of affordable housing in there. Just saw that in our local Currents newsletter today that came out by the city.
Mhm.
Can you just briefly answer that? I don't want to short Mr. Dunn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
with us.
We have. We've actually, I think a year or two ago when they were going to start that building, we have been in contact with them. They actually contacted us about possibly, working on maybe having not necessarily a seminar, but getting even, or maybe we go over to their space, or maybe they come over to ours with having small spaces. Is how do you do container gardening? What can you put on your patio? So we are, for the people that don't have big yards, is still you can garden in a small area.
Great. Thank you.
And just
Thank
one
you.
last thing, we're doing a new thing in January 15th. We're having our first ever job fair. So even if you just want to know like what the different departments or what actually Sky Nursery does, how do we do what we do? So many people think it's just coming in and talking to the birds and butterflies and helping customers, but there's so much more. January 15th from 10 to 2. Even if you're not going to get a job, but maybe somebody that it's like, oh, this might be a good fit. Anywhere from, watching the front door, just greeting customers. But there's a lot of backdoor stuff that maybe people don't realize what we do or what opportunities there are. There'll be little tours every half hour. So that's just something exciting to let everybody in the community maybe know a little bit more about us.
Very cool. Well, Brandy, thank you for coming and speaking to us, and thank you for being a member of this community for 70 years.
Well, thanks for supporting us and making sure that we're still around. Yeah,
Mhm.
not going anywhere. We hope to be around for a lot longer too. So,
All right.
all right. Thank you so much.
Well, Brandy, I hope to meet you sometime. We haven't met.
No, I know. I was hoping I get say hi to you at least. So
Okay, well, I'll give you a call and we'll get a little coffee. I'll bring you some at 3:00.
sounds perfect. Thanks, Mike.
Cool. Well, thank you. Before we go, go any further, I wanted to recognize our counselor-elect, Eben, and is it Polby? I have never heard your name pronounced. I don't know if you are muted or not. Yeah, I think you're muted. Well, I'll call on you again, but I want to just recognize you and thank you. So our second part of our beloved local businesses, past, present, and future, is Dunn Lumber with Mr. Mike Dunn, the president. And I wanted to welcome you, Mike, and thank you. And my friend Eric Ellis wanted me to tell you hello. He's
My wife's cousin.
Yep, your wife's cousin. And so he was excited to hear that you were going to address us. So thank you so much. And like Sky Nursery, Dunn Lumber is a fixture on that corner. And I'm going to say that probably every one of us have been in there. And I have advice: when you're tired of the big box and the big box can't answer your questions, go to Dunn.
Thank you.
They will. So please, I want you to feel free to take the time. It's 8. Please take 25 minutes, and I don't want you to feel like you're cramped for time. So
Thank you. I'll try to make it short enough to answer some questions at the end. We've been on the corner there with Sky Nursery for about the same amount of time. We purchased another lumberyard in 1948. We'd started in the retail business down on North Lake and Latona. Actually had a very short stint behind the University Village, but after that we bought Holmes Lumber on the north end of Lake Union in about 1930 and have been there ever since. The yard burned to the ground in 38, and the building that we're in now, although remodeled, is the same building that was rebuilt then. My grandfather, actually great-grandfather, started the business in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. It was a wholesale business selling primarily shakes and shingles to the East Coast, but he moved his whole family in a boxcar of furniture to Seattle in 1911 and set up shop in what was the White Henry Stewart building, which is where the Rainier Tower is now. He sent his two of his sons, he had 5 kids, down to California to learn the retail business from a customer of his. And after a couple of years, they came back and started the retail, and we've been in retail ever since. And even though our business has changed in a lot in terms of the focus and the products we sell, and we're very much a price and product company probably up until into the 80s when the box stores opened. Every week it was a half page across from the sports section with prices and products, and we always were hoping we'd be a penny below all of our competitors. We had 8 chain lumberyards that we were competing against at the time. Now they're all gone. A few independents and the box stores and us. So it's been quite a change. I actually have a video I'd like to show you that gives you a feeling of who we are and where we've come from, because what I really want to talk to you about is not the what of what we do, but how we do it and why we do it. So let me just see if I can't share that.
I would say too, make sure you get your handkerchiefs ready, because I feel like I'm cutting onions when I look at this video.
Well, thank you. Let's see here. There we go. Oh, well, let's see here. Are you seeing it? Is that working?
Nope.
No, it isn't. Okay.
Could hear the sound, but no picture.
Sorry, it's looking like it's a security issue, privacy. Here we are. Just be a second here. Couldn't try it until we were here. That was the.
Well, and if not, you emailed it to me and I can try it and.
That's
share.
right. I'm actually gonna have to leave the meeting and come right back, and then I'll be.
Okay. I mean it. Get your handkerchiefs ready, because I can't watch this without tearing up a little bit. It reminds me of growing up. Reminds me of the people that we dealt with, that my parents and grandparents dealt with. Come on, Jay, you gotta let him back in.
It should be open.
There
And
we
if he
go.
can't come back with or start it up, I've got it. I can bring it up on mine.
Okay, there he is.
Okay, here we go.
Excellent.
When you've got multi-generational customers or multi-generational employees, there's something there.
I'm a second generation master craftsman, second generation master carpenter, third generation contractor. Actually, my dad was the #2 buyer from Dunn Lumber for a lot of years. One of the great things about tearing apart a house that's over 100 years old is that you actually almost get to step in the footprints of the people who built the house.
It's so hard to really, for you guys to understand what it was like to operate those things. Because they didn't look at anything like this. You know, we'd wash the trucks together, mow the lawn together, and do all the shit work. And I've had every single job there is in this company, from cleaning toilets on up. My first job, I would mow the lawn. A lot of people that I'd been in college with, and they would come by and say, "What are you doing at the lumberyard here? You should be downtown in some high-rise behind a desk somewhere. You know, you've got a degree in marketing," and so on and so forth. Well, I'm doing this just while I'm waiting to get a permanent job or something.
My grandfather was a sharp guy, and he began his business back in Rhinelander, Wisconsin.
Albert L. Dunn kept the ownership in his name, but Charles and Ed built the yards.
And from the start, my uncle and father just saw if they did the right thing with the employees, they'd stick around, and same thing with the customers.
During the Depression, the people in the area knew that we had this safe, and some people trusted Ed and Charlie Dunn more than they trusted the banks because of the crash. And they would bring their money down, and Ed and Charlie would put it in envelopes with their name on it and put it in the safe for them.
Their word was their bond. Their word was their bond. They had a fire.
In 1938, all the inventory and the buildings were destroyed.
But the vault stood with all of the cash and the valuables in it. Within about 60 days of starting construction, they had this building that we're sitting in right here. Before the box stores arrived, our largest day was Saturday.
It was absolutely crazy. On Saturday, we'd have to station somebody at the front door to keep people out.
In fact, sometimes people would pull the number, go down the street to the cafe, have breakfast, come back and hope that we hadn't gone past their number yet.
Well, it wasn't like everything stopped all of a sudden.
We really didn't know much about them. The big box stores started in the southeast around Atlanta and places like that. There were a lot of home centers.
But as they started to open, we really decided that we weren't going to respond very much in terms of changing.
Yeah, we all knew it was coming. And they're starting to put people like us out of business right and left.
Yeah, I mean, they're within blocks of us. We went for many a year where we would lose money in the winter quarter, break even on the second quarter, make back what we'd lost in the first quarter, and we'd make a little money in the fourth quarter.
It took us some time to realize we lost all this business to Home Depot and Lowe's. Why is the contractor still coming in?
It is really important to know the suppliers that have the material that you need. And that's one of the things that you learn with efficiency and frugality and thinking ahead and making what you have stretch.
It took us a while to sort through this and figure it out. Oh, hey, if we get these contractors in and out of here fast, if we provide them with quality material so they can take 40 studs back to the job and they can use all 40 instead of have to sort through them, they're going to be back.
It isn't just a transaction. It's a long-term relationship that depends on so many different factors. And if we don't have their trust, we really don't have a relationship.
We hung in there. And pretty soon we were one of the few left.
We're a link in a very complex chain between the forest and the end product, the family. And a lot of times we have to reach across a couple of links in order to make sure that that chain stays in place. And the contractor knows that. He can rely on us to move heaven and earth so that he retains trust with his customer, because that's his livelihood.
All of us old school guys have had to embrace the new world, but we still carry with us a legacy and those old fashioned values: helpfulness, service, knowledge. That's why they call it old fashioned values. They don't just happen today. They have to be learned and carried on and taught from generation to generation.
Well, look at the family we built. Now, look at the type of people that come in here. This is marvelous.
We have a legacy of trust. Trust is hard to build and easy to lose.
An interesting, oh, thank you. An interesting thing about that film is that's all unscripted. That's my new hires all find out that I'm cry easily. I mean, this is kind of in my life, and it's I care an awful lot about it, so you'll forgive me. But I was saying that those phrases that our marketing company caught, they did about 40 hours of interviews before they did the filming, and then we basically reset a lot of the things we said in the interviews. But just off the top of the head, there was no written script, which gives it a real sense of the reality of it. And I was really encouraged because the stories we were telling and the values we were talking about were shared. I mean, it really was, it gave it a reality for me. And really, I think it was when I began to realize what makes our company, that our company, the most important thing about us is our culture. It is the way we treat our customers, and the way we treat our customers, as someone said just a little bit ago, has everything to do with how we treat our employees and the kind of trust we have with them. Because you can't, it requires an integrated whole in terms of your values and your practices and your ethics. There can't be broken pieces. And so really for the last 15 years, when I started to realize, I was about the time I became president, is I started working on making sure that the whole was fully integrated, and that there weren't any obvious trust breaking practices or just conditions within the company. And I think the great thing is now that our employees, we brought almost every employee that works for us has been through that new hire orientation. They all know what we're trying to do and are all working to help us make it a better whole, because it's something that you can never stop working on. It doesn't have an end. In fact, I sent a bunch of books to descriptions to Dale that he can send you if you'd like. When I think about that integrated piece, gosh, what was the book I was just thinking of? Well, the latest in the book is a book by Henry Cloud, just called Integrity. And we all know what integrity is, but he talks about an integrated character that, an integrated character doesn't just tell the truth, he searches for the truth. he or she pursues the truth to make sure that there isn't any breaks in that system. Really, I think the bottom line is that the company that you want to build will never have a better character than the leaders have. And so building a company takes a lot of self examination and growth. And I think that our leadership team are small. Well, we have a small leadership team of 8 that are from all different parts of the company. And then we have a larger leadership group of about 25. And we spend a lot of time just working on ourselves so that we can then take this out to the rest of the company. We're now almost 500 employees. We've actually gone over 500 with seasonal this year, which means we come under all kinds of new regulations and so forth. Fortunately, we already had a pretty high level of benefits and pay and so forth, so that those new requirements haven't really affected us very much. Thinking back the books I sent you, Dale. I know the one I was thinking about is Simon Sinek. You might know him for his book on why we do what we do. But his latest book is called The Infinite Game. And an infinite game doesn't have a natural ending. A football game, it has a set number of rules, set number of players, and a set goal and a set time period, and the goal is to win. With an infinite game, it has variable players, variable rules, and the goal is to keep the game going. And so what you find in a lot of publicly traded companies is they're working on a finite game. They have a particular win, and that win might be selling it so it can go public, or cashing out with an investor group or something like that, where the executives walk away with big paychecks. When you have a multi-generational family business, the goal is to keep it going to the next couple of generations. So we're already working to build a curriculum for the 6th generation. We want them to be able to understand a financial statement and kind of the basic workings of the company by the time they're in their teens. And by the time they're 20, to understand what it means to be a steward of the company. Because when you get to our size and people start to get stock and they look at the value of that stock and then they look at their own income and they think, gee, I'd sure like to have the money rather than the ownership. So you really have to bring people in to that stewardship process. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for trouble down the road. We've had a lot of help actually from the Laird Norton family. They were the family that funded Weyerhaeuser originally. Back in the 1800s, a $5.5 million loan on a handshake was the money that they purchased large tracts of land in both Washington and Oregon, and started their forestry business out here in the West. You probably remember Lumbermans. They owned the Lumbermans yards, and now they're basically just property managers and wealth managers, but a great family and been very helpful setting up our family council and helping us with that. So I would love to answer some questions if you have any.
So my comment was that it is extremely rare for family businesses to go multi generations. And it's really interesting to hear how you integrate the future generations, because, you know, it's the grandparents and the great grandparents that understood the value of work. And then the third generation tends to, you know, kind of take it and grow it. And then the fourth generation tends to waste it. And it's, you know, it sounds like that I know Sky Nursery is doing the same, but you guys now are in your sixth generation. And it's, you know, in this town, you know, it's been known as the Nordstrom way, is to bring the kids in, and they do everything from cleaning toilets to learning the stock room. And, you know, it sounds like you guys have done the same thing. It's important for the kids to know the business from the bottom up.
Yeah. One advantage for Brandy and I is that we're in, it doesn't seem like an advantage, but we're in a business that takes a long time to build up equity. It isn't the big cash, you know, it's not like a software business or even even some other businesses that can become wealthy very quickly, some car dealerships, some things like that just become, but lumber and plants, they have pretty small markups, and it takes a lot of volume. And when you're working with living things, and lumber is a living thing, there's something that ties you to the land. It's kind of like being a farmer, and it's and that's a really good thing for families.
Yeah, it is. Jane and Larry, I see your hand.
I love the emotion that you put into tonight. It's just awesome. I want to date myself. I went to high school with Tom Dunn.
Oh, wonderful. He's still doing well. He lives up in the Semiahmoo area.
Oh, okay. Good. Good to hear. So I was going to say about Sky Nursery, we normally don't go inside stores, so we love the bulk mail trail there at Sky. And we had to go in there recently for a reason. And we had to go inside Dunn Lumber for a reason, because we couldn't find what we needed elsewhere. And one of your faithful employees worked so hard and found what we needed. So it was great. So those were two rare visits inside stores. So thank you so much for taking time to be with us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, you know, it's like I said, when you get tired of the big boxes, can't answer your questions, you go to Dunn, you go to Aurora Plumbing. You know, it's another business. I think of this kind of the same thing as the hometown business, and I've never been disappointed, ever. And I am regularly disappointed if I go to the big boxers.
I think the council member has a question.
Yes, Susan.
Not really a question, just another compliment. We recently just rebuilt our house from the ground up, and I just wanted to let you know that we had many deliveries from Dunn Lumber, and my husband was there often asking questions of your staff, and it was just always a great experience for him.
Oh, that's good. Good to hear. Well, a lot goes into those employee interactions. It was a lot easier when we had, 4 yards and 60 employees. Even when I was the manager of the Kirkland store in 1978, I mean, we started that store with 7 employees. Now there's 50 that work there. But with 500 employees, it requires, regular all company gatherings for the individual stores. I write welcome cards, anniversary cards, and birthday cards to every employee. I'm at the stores every 2 weeks, every store for half hour or so, walking around, talking to as many people as I can. Sometimes they're so busy, you can't talk to very many people, but they know I'm there, and we have a pretty shallow leadership group. I mean, I have employees, if they have a problem, they call me or they email me, and we address it together. So you know, it's not it doesn't go on remote control.
I like the fact that the employees are too busy to talk to the boss. I like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that actually took a little while to train, you know, that I don't want you to stop talking to the customer so that you can greet me.
I see another hand, Sarah.
Yeah, I've been really touched by the emotion here. It's clear that you care a lot about your business, and I think it shows. I've had also really good experiences whenever I've been in Dunn Lumber. I was wondering about these books that you're recommending. Was there a book list that went out that I can get a hold of?
So I will send the book list to Diane, and we'll get it on the Facebook page, I would think, right, Diane? You're muted, but yeah. So yeah, we'll get that on in the next a day or so, I think. Kind of depends on her schedule. Council member Susan, I see question again.
Yes, please. Sorry, I just thought of a follow-up question I wanted to ask. I guess I'm curious as to how you find the business climate in Shoreline, and are there things that we could do better as a city?
Oh, well, I think we're I'm sure Brandy can chime in on this, but we've had quite a bit of crime this year. The store, the yard's been broken into several times, and we had very good response times from the police. We actually put in trail cams because we found that that the hunters use for game. We set them up in the store and then had them directly connected to different staff members' cell phones. And we were able to get some very quick response times from the police. The problem was the prosecutors, the judges aren't convicting, so the prosecutors aren't really pursuing. And we had one fellow who's broke into Shoreline once and Green Lake twice, and gosh, I think Everett once. And I don't know whatever happened to him, but I know each time he was let go pretty quickly. But other than that, gosh, yes, no, I think Shoreline's one of our most favorite communities to do business in.
Great.
Well, our time is drawn to a close for this segment. And again, Mike, I appreciate so much you being here and speaking to us and speaking your heart and your passions. And it does show through in your employees. And leadership is something that places employees, those below them, in a position where they can do their job and do their job well and be happy with how they work. And it's clear to me that happens at Dunn, and it's from hearing from you, I understand why now.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing the book list. We'll get it up on the site, and I just can't thank you enough.
Well, I'm always available, Mike@DunnLumber.com.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And Brandy, so two of our favorite businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I am also available, brandy@skynursery.com. So you can always shoot me an email too. I'm around.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. So as we go into our next piece, I see that Dr. Reyes is here with us. Before I go to her, I do want to try to see if Eben is available again.
Yes, I am available. Thank you.
Hey, there you are. Congratulations, I believe, Councilor-elect.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us tonight, and we look forward to having you in future meetings.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I look forward to it. Thank you.
So our second part of the meeting is we've touched on our beloved local businesses, and I would say that just about every board member has been very, very, very involved in education in this district. And most of us have had kids here and that have gone through the educational system. And frankly, that's why we moved here. That's why I moved here. And probably a number of us can say the same thing. And so our beloved local schools and Dr. Susanna Reyes is here to talk about, of course, schools need money to operate, and there's a levy coming up, and so that's important. And then she's also going to share her vision and passion for the district too. So Dr. Reyes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I so appreciate that you were able to make time for me. I know that we were working on the agenda timing. I just came out of a board meeting a little while ago. And so thank you for adjusting or having me on the agenda at a point in time when I was able to join you. Yes, I'm brand new to the district. I'm completing my 5th month. I started in July. I come to you from the city of Pasco, where I was most recently the Assistant Superintendent of Operations. And I believe I have been able to meet and sign on to some of our neighborhood association meetings early on with Dr. Miner, the superintendent who was here prior to me. And so that introduction allowed me to get to know a little bit more about the community. I also did research prior to coming to Shoreline and learned about the 14 or so neighborhood associations that are part of Shoreline, and is really neat and something very different than I'm used to. So really right from the get-go provided for me a feeling of community, a sense of neighborly cooperative type of environment. And so thank you for setting that sort of tone for our communities. This evening, I do, as Dale shared, have information for you regarding 2 upcoming replacement levies that the district will be presenting to the voters in February. And before I get into that, I do have a PowerPoint to share with you on that. But Dale, you mentioned the vision for the district. We know that as you mentioned, Shoreline schools have been at the heart of the community for ever since. I mean, the district was formed with the thought in mind first about, or this city, about providing a school district, a set of schools for children and families who lived in this area. And it's not lost on me how important that was to the community here. And it was after the school district then that the city of Shoreline was formed, is my understanding, based on the history that I've reviewed. And so just the fact that schools were first really shines a light on how important schools are to our community here. So I really appreciate that and that part of the story. You know, we have a motto in the district that states three phrases: engaging minds, inspiring dreams, and empowering lives. That is the crux of our work, is making sure that that's what we do for our children. And as many of you are probably aware with your experience in the school district, we pre-COVID, we have been able to provide a lot for our students, not only academically, but also with extracurricular offerings and supports in our schools that allow for a rich experience, including the arts, and of course, athletics and all of that. We want to continue to do that. We've also more recently in the past few years have embarked on strengthening our work around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and specifically around our work to ensure that we're a system that is open and welcoming to all people, all children from all backgrounds. Last night, I also participated in a listening session with our special education families, our parent-teacher student association, and their they provided for us a picture of what their experiences are and how they would like for us to continue to support the programs of services that we provide for students, but also to increase opportunities for more inclusion also in our classrooms and in our overall system for children and young people who have disabilities, who have, you know, different needs. And so we have a lot of parent groups like that in our schools. Our PTAs are very involved, our booster clubs are very involved, and also our Shoreline Education Foundation is extremely involved also in supporting our work. And so as a district, we want to, our vision is to continue this type of service that we've been providing our children and young people, and to continue to grow and evolve into a system that operates in a way that is very exemplary around how we treat each other, how we treat children and young people and families, that is reflective of a community that is inclusive and engaging of all families. So you may be aware of our equity work that includes also ensuring that we have groups of families that are able to connect, who come from similar backgrounds, so that they feel like there's a way for them to belong and feel like they can connect with people that they're more familiar with. We also know that making sure that our families are aware about how our system works allows them to access the opportunities that we have available for their children. So making sure that we're also engaging our families so that they can learn about our public school structure. So we have programs like the Natural Leaders Program, where we have parents who come from other places that are not necessarily have been in Shoreline for a long time or come from other countries, where they get to learn how to understand our education structure in specifically, obviously, in our country and then in our community, so that they themselves learn how to do that and how to access the services for kids. And then they become leaders and supporters of other families, other parents in their own community. And so I've been meeting with groups of families who support us in that way. And these are families who speak other languages, who are then engaging families from the same communities who live in Shoreline or Lake Forest Park, so that they can help each other. And that's been really impressive for me, because in Pasco, where I was, we do have, and Pasco has over 70% of Latinos, Latinas population. And so because you're able to then have one sort of large group of people that speak the same language, like Spanish, for example, it feels more feasible. But here we have over 80 languages that are represented in our schools. And so there are more opportunities for us to find ways to make sure that every group of our different family groups are feeling a part of our system. And it's a process. There are challenges along the way, because we're trying to learn how to understand each other. Sometimes there's different perspectives. Sometimes we're not sure how we're communicating is being conveyed to the receiver. And so it's easy also to fall into situations where maybe we don't communicate the way we thought we were communicating. So all of that is part of our growing and our learning as a system as well. So in terms of kind of tying it back to the vision, our vision is to continue that work, to make sure that we're providing opportunities and really engaging our students and our children in ways that really inspire them, that allow them to dream and allow them to have academic and educational and social experiences in our schools that lead them to that point in time where they graduate, but they leave feeling hopeful for their future, excited, having experienced a positive, engaging learning environment, but also developed having developed all the social skills that they need to be able to move forward. We know with COVID, the way that it's been experienced here, we continue to, right now, because our young children are not yet fully vaccinated, we haven't yet opened our doors per se to even our parents or our visitors or who just want to come visit schools, or volunteers. We're looking to adjust that in some way in beginning after the holidays in January, because by then the majority of our students will have been fully vaccinated. But at the middle school and high school level, we have had athletics back in the running. You may have heard, we've had football games and volleyball games and soccer games. Our Shorecrest girls and Shorewood teams went into the playoffs in soccer, so they did really well. Didn't make it to state or finish out in state, but they did really, really well. Shorecrest High School won the football game against Shorewood High and earned the Rotary Cup a few weeks ago. I was there for that event. And so a lot of the parts of what we see ourselves as doing with and for our young people are still occurring even in the face of the pandemic and the impacts that it has brought with it into our lives. And because of the vaccine and setting up the local testing site for COVID when kids have symptoms, that has allowed us then to also look into the future shortly, in the near future, to make some additional changes so that we can bring back volunteers. We have had requests for volunteers to come back to our schools. The Power of One is one that we've been receiving questions about, because that's been really important. I remember seeing a lot of videos of the Power of One as I was researching the district, and we missed that. Our parents missed that, and our students and staff missed that. As well as bringing back organizations like the Dandelion Drama organization that has provided opportunities for children to engage in drama productions at the elementary level, Shore Lake Arts. There are so many things that we've yet still to re-engage in. And we're hopeful that after the holiday break, we can begin to make some adjustments so that we can continue moving and working in a way that aligns with our vision to really provide a rich learning and social positive experience for our children and students. So that's, in a nutshell, is what I would share is the vision. Because of time, I'd like to, if it's okay with you, move into the presentation around the levy and then engage in some conversation and dialogue and questions. If that's okay with you, if that works. I know that my clock is wrong there. It's like 8:43.
8:43, so yeah, that works really well for us. So yes, please.
I'm going to share my screen so that I can provide for you a visual with the information on the levies. I believe you can see it. Are you able to see?
Yes.
Okay, and I will move it into slide mode, or what is it? Yeah, there we go, into kind of more of a the slideshow mode. So yes, we are, our board did approve a resolution to present to the voters for consideration the replacement of 2 expiring levies. There will be a special election on February 8th, and so we will be placing both of these levies on the ballot for community consideration. As you know, and have heard probably many times in the past, levies are for learning and bonds are for building. Levies provide support for classroom staff and student programs, regular ongoing maintenance of facilities, technology, transportation, and it does require a 50% or higher voter approval rate to pass. Bonds are for building. You may be aware, and I know that when I was here with Dr. Miner earlier or late spring, she did share information about the 4 schools that were recently built: Kellogg Middle School, Einstein, Parkwood, and Edwin Pratt Learning Center, Early Learning Center. And so bonds cover those costs, but they also come with taxes, right? And the city of Shoreline and Lake Forest Park were very generous in approving a bond in 2017 to cover the costs of those schools. So that's just not super new information for you, but our focus this coming spring or early or late winter in February will be on the replacement of 2 levees. Let me see here. I'm trying to move this because it's hard for me to see. So a levy is a local property tax. I think everyone here is probably very familiar with that. It does provide funds for educational program and support services, as I shared. Currently, the support from these levies is equal to about 20% of our operating budget. And so you know that the state provides some funding, the federal government provides some funding, but they don't provide sufficient funding to be able to cover all of the expenses that are needed in order for us to provide the services that we're currently offering. So some of the more specific or additional specific support areas include curriculum, safety and security, educational technology, extracurricular activities and programs, professional development, and more. This year we have 2 4-year levies that we're presenting to the community. These they're replacement levies, which means that we'll be asking the voters to consider renewing existing levies that expire in December of 2022. We'll be able to collect funds from those levies through December of 2022. February is a typical month when school levies tend to be run. There are several districts across the state that will also be running levies. By running this levy in February, it provides us an opportunity, should it not pass the first time, we would have another opportunity in April to try to make sure that we see if it might pass, in time for when the others, when the existing levies expire. But February 8th is a very typical month, or February is a typical month for school levy elections. We did see about 8 school districts that ran levies in November this school year as well. And so it just depends on the rotation. We'll be asking for the replacement of both of these for another 4 years. The first proposition is the levy that covers educational programs and operations, and it provides funding for items or resources such as special education staff and instructional programs, support for highly capable programming and academic support, nurses, family advocates, librarians, and counselors. As a quick example, the funding for schools, districts, for example, for nurses, the state funding that is provided for school nurses for our district provides funding for really less than 1 school nurse. We provide a school nurse, full-time nurse at every single school. So that kind of gives you a picture of how important support from a levy really helps our system in ensuring that we have what children need for their services in schools, and also for their experiences too. Building maintenance, utilities, and transportation are covered by levy dollars. Extracurricular student activities, music, drama, athletics, etc., and professional development. The expiring capital levy for technology is specific for improvements and support. That includes student and staff computers, technology access, software, online subscriptions as stated here, annual maintenance and licensing, equipment upgrades and replacement, staffing, professional development and training, and network servers and the district's wireless infrastructure. So those are the 2 propositions that will be part of this ballot that will be presented to the community in February. The funding amounts that come from each of these are listed here. Because it's a 4-year levy, this slide provides you sort of a picture of how many dollars the levy will generate and what the estimated rate per $1,000 of assessed value of a person's home, of an owner's home, would render. So the rate would be $1.48 for every $1,000 of assessed value. So assessed value is, as you know, what the county would assess a home to be valued at, not necessarily what it would sell at. We know that currently homes are selling for very, very high dollars. The assessed values tend to be lower than what those sales are. And the rate would be, as you see here, is estimated to be at these figures: $1.48, $1.44, $1.38, and $1.33. And it would provide about $26 million to, in 2026, a little over $28.5 million to support the educational programming and operations. The technology levy is, the rate is at about 20 cents per $1,000 of assessed value, and it would provide for about $3.5 million to support the technology improvements and technological supports that we need in our district. This slide just kind of gives a quick snapshot of how one would calculate the amount of dollars that a person would pay as annual taxes for each of the years, and what they would multiply their assessed value by. That would include the tax rate for both levy replacement propositions. And then the next slide actually gives you an actual number. We've received feedback that there's no way that there's a home in Shoreline or Lake Forest Park that would be assessed at $300,000. And so we're probably going to be revising this slide. But if we look at, for example, a home that is assessed at $500,000 by the county, that homeowner would look at having to pay $795 annually for these two levy propositions. And the rate would be an average estimated rate between the two of $1.59 per $1,000 of assessed value. So you see at $700,000, an owner would be looking at about $1,100,000 annually, and at $1 million assessed value would be looking at about close to $1,600 annually for these two levies. And again, the replacement, so a homeowner is already paying close to about this amount. And this slide provides for you a more complete picture that includes, in the yellow is the bond rate for the schools that were built. And the green is the technology. So the green it's like a very small sort of section of each of these. And then the blue is the combination of the two levies. So to the left, the 4 columns are the previous 2 years, the current year, and then into the next year, where into December of 2022, what the total amount of tax is, the tax rate is. So it would be the $1.49 for the levies, 19 cents per 1,000 for the technology levies, and then $1.99 for the bonds. Moving forward, should the levies pass, the two technology and enhancement levy pass in 2023, you'll see that the rate would stay about the same. The estimated change moving forward would look like it's decreasing a little, and that's primarily because we'll be paying off bonds along the way. So the yellow would be naturally decreasing. The others would stay kind of the same. You know, they go down a little bit, but in the overall, the big picture here is that the actual cost to the taxpayer is going to be very comparable or similar to what is currently what taxpayers are paying. And again, because it's a replacement levy, it's not asking for new dollars. It's just asking for voters to consider continuing the current level of support. So I believe that is the last slide. Happy to respond to questions that I'll be able to answer, and then happy to also take questions that if I don't have specific detailed responses, I can send them back via email to maybe to Dale or someone on the council that then could send that out.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Any thoughts that come to mind?
Marla, you have your hand up? Oh, I'm sorry. Jane and Larry have their hand up first.
Oh, let Marla can go first.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Jean. Yeah, I'm a native plant steward here in Shoreline, and I know in the years past, we have used a lot of the students from different school districts, for sure, Shoreline School District, as volunteers at some of the work parties we've had for restoration. And I know that the last year and then again this year, the requirements have been rescinded. I think that was the term that I read on the parks, or not the parks, but the school district website. Is there any hope for the community service work and volunteer work that the students can do will establish again sometime probably in late of next year during that school year?
You know, that is a really great question. And our students, you're right, we did ask the board to consider deferring that again this year, and it's primarily because of the impacts of COVID and all of the pressures that students are still feeling from just this whole entire experience.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, we will be reinstating that. I don't have a timeline, but I can certainly take a look at what it might look like, and then get back with you via email to give you at least a sense of that. Now, even though we did share with students that the requirement for so many volunteer hours was not in place, for this year, to allow for a little bit of buffer for them in terms of what they need social emotionally and trying to get everything done in this whole environment, it doesn't mean that they can't. So I'm happy to share with our student groups that if they feel comfortable and they want to participate and contribute, that opportunity is still available to them, because it could be they may just not be aware. So yeah, I think, and I know that our students, especially at the high school level, they're interested in being supportive of their community. And so I'm happy to share that with them, because I wouldn't be surprised if you would get students who want to help.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. We had a contact at Shorewood High School, and she was letting some of the other schools know, maybe even Einstein and at the middle school level. And we had quite a few, even the honor students. And it was great to be able to interact with them, because many of them were interested in some kind of environmental work, and it's like any kind of networking you're doing with a mentor. So it'd be great to be able to see that that's going to be possibly could happen maybe this spring, even if they choose to do it, not required.
Right. What is the name of the project again, so I can write it down correctly?
Yeah, it's through the City of Shoreline Green Shoreline Partnership Program, and it's doing park restoration work at the Shoreline Park System.
Okay. Great.
And it is on the city's website. It's through the Parks Department and the Green Shoreline Partnership Program. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you very much for taking that.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Thank you for the question.
And Marla's volunteer work is normally outside, which is much safer than inside.
Yeah.
So it's so good to meet you. Thank you for coming to Shoreline. We look forward to working with you over the years. I just wanted to put in a plug for PTA to remind people that anybody can join PTA. We belong at Echo Lake as community members, but I also want to plug what you mentioned, the Shoreline Public Schools Foundation. It was started at Shorewood High School in 1992 when I was on that board, and we still meet, we still get together once a year. But anybody can contribute to that foundation, and that is for extras over and above what the levies provide. So feel free to look up Shoreline Public Schools Foundation. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you.
Dr. Reyes, I wanted to say I've been in Power of One about 5 years, both the elementary, middle school, and Shorewood High School. And I've really enjoyed it. And so thank you. I'm glad one day we'll be able to get back. And I've been busy with other things now, watching Echo Lake Park, but I'll have a little time in the future maybe to help again. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we're so excited. I don't know if you're aware, but we, Shoreline City, Shoreline Fire Department, the City of Shoreline Fire Department worked, they did like the bulk of the work, but they partnered with the district and UW Medicine to hold the child vaccine clinic last weekend. And we had over 2,000 children who participated in that and were vaccinated. And then they've been offering it, you know, throughout different scheduling processes ongoingly. So with that, we anticipate that many of our young children will have been fully vaccinated by the end of December, which then really provides more opportunity for us to explore how we can phase in more participation inside of our schools by our community. And we are so looking forward to that. So thank you for that.
So I was going to comment on Kathy's comment about that she didn't know there's a school nurse at every school, and I think that's really important. Another fact I don't think people know, and I'm not sure if it still is correct, but I know at one point there was a librarian at every elementary school and every middle school, and I believe at every school, at
Yes.
the high schools too. And that's again something that many schools do not have.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's so critical for education. And that's what, you know, that's the Shoreline standard, I think.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know if it was translated to you, but I'm going to guess that among the people who are tuned into this meeting tonight, that there are probably 6 or 7 golden acorns out here.
Oh,
And so, you know, that shows a real commitment to people to education and as parents.
yep, I absolutely see that. And like I said, even when I was researching Shoreline, when I was back in the Tri-Cities, I actually hopped on to view recordings of some of these meetings. And it's one of the reasons I was drawn to Shoreline too, is just part of it is both the Shoreline and Lake Forest Park are really wonderful communities. I've had nothing but wonderful welcoming experiences from both communities. And I look forward to work every day. I look forward to driving around town to go to all the different schools. It feels really good. And I just so appreciate the way that the community has developed that type of environment here. Students will tell me, we hope you enjoy our environment. Welcome to Shoreline. It's just really wonderful. And I feel very honored and blessed to be a part of the community now.
Well, thank you. And, you know, you are certainly welcomed. And it's, I didn't realize it's 9:04 already.
Gosh.
It's, you know, we get talking about the things that are important to us, and it's hard to hold to 2 hours. And I really want to thank you for joining us. And we're always available. I just want you to know that if you have something on your mind that you want to talk to us about, please let us know. Send an email to the Shoreline or to the ENLA board. We have our logo up. We have our Facebook page, and we're pretty easy to get a hold of.
Yes, because I sent an email and here I am.
Absolutely right.
Mhm.
And so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. And
Dale, I'd
yes.
like to just say a big welcome to Sarah. Welcome to the neighborhood. Come back again.
Yeah.
We'll be meeting in January, not December.
Yeah, we take December off. So please, everyone enjoy their families and friends over the holiday season, and come join us in January. And it will be another Zoom meeting, and the information will be on our Facebook page. And Diane, do you have anything, Gidget, board members, any last things to say?
No, just that we're very happy to meet you and have you join us for a while. And you should feel free to pop in anytime.
Yep, and thank you. And is Counselor Chen? She's oh, there she is. Thank you for your services to our community, and we wish you well in your future endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you for a great meeting.
And Counselor-elect Povey, and again, I may be mispronouncing your name.
You got it right. Yeah, Povey is fine. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, and it is actually Eben, right?
Yeah,
Eben, not
it is,
even,
yeah.
Eben.
I think Susan got it right from day one. Yes, one of the few who got it right.
Welcome to the council, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Yep. Have a good night.